Hello, warriors. Welcome to the U Movement. I am B, and it is a beautiful spring day here. I'm very delighted to be out and just taking in some light codes. And on the topic of light codes, I wanted to talk a little bit about light language today, because I had this question posed to me a couple of times now, and I thought it was time that I did a video about it and how it came about and everything I know about it and my experiences with it and how I feel about it. This is going to tie in a little bit to some of my theories and understandings of sacred medicine as well, and why I think the way that I think about that now as opposed to how I thought about it then. So I'm going to just start from the beginning. That's a good place to start. I'm a little nervous to do this video, I'm going to be honest. I have done a couple of videos where I have spoken light language, which is otherwise known as talking in tongues. And I don't do it very frequently. Most of you guys know me by now through my light language dancing videos. That is my comfort zone. But even those I was uncomfortable with at the start. So the comfort zone is expanding a little bit. That's what I'm being challenged to step into in the present moment. So I have been a Reiki practitioner for 20 odd years, and with that came a lot of really learning in and leaning heavily into spiritual teachings and things like that. But that all said, there was a barrier that I was not willing to go beyond. I didn't want to do channeling. I didn't want to see ghosts. I didn't want to assist spirits into the light. I didn't want to close my eyes and talk in a funny voice and channel spirits. I didn't want to do light language or things like that. And I certainly did not want to speak in tongues. I knew other healers that I had met through the ages that did that, and I thought it was really super cool. But I was that was past my comfort zone, because my spirituality had been in the closet. I was a closet spiritualist for so long, because I was raised in an atheist household where, you know, as I've said, God was a bit of a dirty word. So stepping in to fully embracing my spiritual gifts was a difficult process for me. It's easy to do things like meditation, and even Reiki was a little bit like, oh, you know, what are people going to think of me? They're going to think I'm weird and I'm different, you know. I used to always be told I was weird or called a freak growing up. Those were my words that people would define me of, because I was. I'm just going to own it now. I've always been a little bit weird. I didn't fit in the mainstream from as back in childhood, teenage years, and so I learned to mask, and I spent my life masking and trying to look as normal as I possibly could within the framework of comfortability. So looking like or being like the cheerleader type or the preppy girl or the good girl, I couldn't reach that far. That was too far a reach. So I reached into, you know, punk rocker, you know, all dressed in black. Oh, look, I'm still all dressed in black. I wear more colored clothes now, but, you know, that was my comfort zone. I could hide amongst the freaks and the mohawks and the piercings and the tattoos and feel like I didn't stand out there. So that was my masking, you know, having pink hair or eyebrow rings or things like that. That was my masking. That was me blending in. That was as blended as I could get, is to blend with the unblendables, the black sheeps, the outcasts. I found comfort there. And but even there, that wasn't like totally me, because that was me pretending to be with people that were less judgmental, is what it boiled down to. I was safer there. And, that seems to be very incongruent with a lot of spirituality, unless you get into like things like the Wicca. And yeah, I looked at that and I was like, okay, some of that's kind of a little bit interesting, and, I'll burn some incense and things like that. But I was never into like making huge altars and doing spell casting. That wasn't my thing. So I was searching through spirituality in my comfort zone, being safely padded, keeping those spiritual gifts as dulled down as they could possibly be, because all those substances that we use aren't going to help you with your spiritual path. In fact, they're going to debilitate you, except for some. So I'm going to first talk about the ones that are dulling. Your tobacco usage, your alcohol. Alcohol is so bad. If you're trying to open yourself up spiritually and you're still drinking, you're shooting yourself in your foot. So there's 0 point in doing like daily meditations if you go then later on at night and are drinking alcohol, because anything that you opened or cleared through the meditation you're just going to fill back up with gunk with the alcohol. So, and listen, I'm not judging anyone for being a drinker. I was a drinker for, over 30 years, and I've done a million videos. Okay, maybe not a million, but I've done a lot of videos on why people seek addictions. And that is, I'm going to just review. We have addictions because addictions are on top of traumas. And so that's the birthplace of addiction. And so I'm not judging anyone. Zero judgment if you still drink. But what I'm going to suggest is, if you do still drink, yet you're seeking spiritual clarity, you're fighting against yourself. So you're not fighting against me. There's no fight. You're fighting against yourself. And the same can be said for pharmaceuticals. And I am not a medical doctor. I am not advising anybody to go off of pharmaceuticals. I'm simply saying, if you are trying to open yourself up and open your gifts and get your gifts online and receive more communication with spirit, and start to cultivate all your clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, telepathy, any other clairs that I'm missing, then if you're taking pharmaceuticals, specifically, your SSRIs and your SSNIs and other numbing, depressant type pills that are like trying to calm your system, or other pills that are trying to stimulate your system, then you're messing with your own body's brain chemistry, and your energetic system is so subtle. It's very subtle. So when we give ourselves substances that are hard hitting, and that's the thing, is they work, right? They depress you, in the sense that they depress your system if you're have high anxiety, or they stimulate you if you've got if you're very depressed and you need to be uplifted. So those are strong medications, which is going to be too strong for the subtle nature that is spiritual gifts. And the same even can be said for caffeine. Caffeine is another substance that I was forced to quit along this process for multiple reasons. One, it's far too stimulating, especially if you're having a kundalini. And two, it excites everything and puts you into a do. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to paint the walls. I got to clean the house. I got to do the laundry. I got to pick up the kids. So if you're constantly on go, you're not allowing your system to get into that meditative state. And meditation is a state of mind. It doesn't mean you have to sit down to meditate. I rarely sit down to meditate. My favorite type of meditations are actually movement meditations, and that's why I do a lot of aligned walking. I'm delighted to be outside and have gotten some aligned walking in. If you haven't watched my videos on aligned walking or know anything about aligned walking, I'm going to highly recommend that you do a little bit of looking into some of those videos. and I will probably reintroduce that concept again because it's the fundamentals. It is the core place of a spiritual path, is getting yourself into alignment physically and moving. Physical alignment, movement, both of those in a state of mindfulness is a meditation. Other people like to meditate via sitting down and trying to do Zen meditations, breathing meditations, guided meditations, mindfulness meditations, body scan meditations. There is a plethora of meditations out there available for you, and the internet has, YouTube has loads. Otherwise, if you need help with your meditations, get in touch. We can talk about that. Meditations is something I might consider doing more of, like guided meditations down the road. The meditations that I have already done for you, that's in the practices with B, as well as maybe the emotions, are guided meditations to help facilitate you releasing emotions, specifically reparenting meditations. So that all said, that's a lot about meditations. If you can't get yourself into a meditative state, it's very difficult to open and clear yourself. So I've been meditating, 25 years in and around, or in actuality, I think I've been meditating my whole life. And I would hazard a guess that a lot of us who are neurodivergent have been naturally meditating. So a lot of that stuff that used to get you in trouble at school, the dazing and staring out into the playground at school and not listening to your teacher, that was a meditation. And other things that neurodivergent people do that can be a little bit dreamy and off with the fairies, and that's all meditation. Washing the dishes can be a meditation. So if we can get ourselves into a meditative state, then we open ourselves to be able to help stimulate and activate our energetic system to open up our gifts. Open up our third eye, which is where a lot of our gifts are, and open up our energetic sensitivities. So when we remove all the numbing agents, then we open ourselves up. So on my path, and I'm not telling you one way or another of how you should or shouldn't do, you have to listen to yourself through your own meditation and listen to your own guidance. But I'm telling you how my path worked and how it led me to where I am today. So on my path, Spirit was very adamant on quitting the pharmaceuticals, quitting the alcohol, quitting the tobacco, quitting the fluoride. That I'm going to throw in there too. If you're still consuming fluoride, get that out of your house, throw it in the bin immediately, and get yourself fluoride-free toothpaste and mouth care and anything else, because that calcifies your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is like the source of your connection. So like when we have a signal, you remember like an antenna. So think of your spine as like an antenna. So you need your spine to be straight. So you think of your spine as the antenna, and the pineal gland to be that little nub right at the top of the antenna. And if the pineal gland is calcified, it's like covering your antenna with something that's going to block the signal. So if you're like, I'm meditating, how come I never hear spirit? I want to hear spirit. I want to hear my guides. I want to hear my ancestors. I can't hear anything. And then you're brushing your teeth with fluoride and you're drinking fluoride in your water. Well, that could be one of your biggest problems. So if fluoride is a problem, first and foremost, you need to clear your body of heavy metals and the fluoride that's in your system. The way to do that is to consume what I call the poor man's healer, which is cilantro and or parsley. There are also many detoxes that you can do that are herbal concoctions that you can buy. Get a heavy metal detox or something like that. But as I said, cilantro is your best friend. I know a lot of people don't like it, so maybe you want to get it in capsule form. But what that does is it goes into your body and it grabs hold of any free radicals and things that you don't want, and it grabs them and it helps them purge out of your system. So I've been fluoride free for, as I said, my awakening has come in waves for the last 20 odd years, and I stopped using fluoride, more than a decade ago, like a really long time ago. Did I clear that out of my system? So that was one step that needed to be done. The next step was quitting of the alcohol, which then made me a lot more hypersensitive. So my sensitivity started developing really more. Like by the end quitting alcohol for me was about alcohol quitting me, not me quitting alcohol, because every time I drank, I got violently ill. And would vomit, and then had to have a hangover for about 5 days. And it was like my IQ went from, I don't know, whatever my IQ was at, and it would drop to like 25 down to like 25%. I'd have 4 days of feeling so incredibly stupid and like a zombie, and then headaches and just general exhaustion, discomfort. It was brutal. So alcohol became something in the last 10 years that I would do occasionally. In my 20s and 30s, I was a heavy drinker on the weekends, a big binge drinker. Didn't drink really during the week, unless I worked and got off, and but it was mostly the occasional. When I drank, I drank to excess. It wasn't an everyday thing, by no means. I had huge stretches of time where I didn't drink anything, but then when I did drink, I'd make up for all the days that if I hadn't drank for an entire month, I'd make up for it. And get myself a lot of tequila and a lot of Red Bull and vodkas. Because, that was my drink of choice for a very long time in Ireland, which is insanity when I think about it now. Vodka and Red Bull. You have a couple of those through the night, and I'd be flying. There'd be feeling no spiritual things. Zero spiritual things, because So the drink quit me. And then the cigarettes quit me as well, because I developed sleep apnea, chronic inflammation in my sinus, obviously some sort of infection that was going on here in my mouth, diabetes, and a whole bunch of other conditions. And they're like, if you don't quit smoking, all the warnings, like quit smoking, quit smoking, quit smoking. So I was like, okay, fuck, I gotta quit smoking. And I didn't want to quit smoking. I liked smoking. I also like drinking. So as I said, these things quit me because I hit a rock bottom and had to turn a corner. And when that happened, I replaced my drinking and my smoking and my caffeining, because next came caffeine. Caffeine became too agitating. I developed severe anxiety when I drank. I also had collapsing and crippling burnout because I'd been burning myself on overdrive for so long that it became untenable. Like I couldn't continue it. And so as a result, I quit caffeine. And when I did something, I did it to the fullest. You may have noticed that about me. I don't do things half-assed. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to go balls to the wall. And so when I drank caffeine, I used to drink like 2 pots of coffee a day to keep me going. And then Spirit was like, hell to the no, here's chamomile tea. That's gone. As is sugar. Going to take sugar away, because sugar inflames your entire body. And I had so many health conditions and this and that. So in clearing the sugar out of my body, I also became more hypersensitive to energies and everything else around me. So if you want to think of inflammation as like this jacket, it's nice and padded, and it's protecting me from the elements, from feeling the cold right now. So if you're consuming a lot of sugar and you're consuming a lot of carbohydrates, which turn into sugar in your system. So all the rice, the potatoes, the flour, which is your pastas, your breads, your everything else. If you're consuming a lot of that, and you can feel your body, like I dare you right now to touch your body, touch your face, touch your arms, touch your thighs, lots of information held in there, touch your belly. If you're seeing and it feels like on your body you're wearing a puffer coat, like this one, that's inflammation, aka fat. But I don't like to call fat, because what fat is inflammation. So let's call it what it is. And you're not going to feel the elements if you're covered in inflammation. And if you're wanting to cultivate greater spiritual gifts, you need to take off the jacket, and then you can feel the air hit get all the little hairs on your arms to go wee, and you can feel things more, right? So you can feel things more. So quitting the pharmaceuticals, the alcohol, the foods, the fluorides, the tobacco, all helped me clear out the inflammation. And I used as a medicine cannabis. Cannabis is legal in Canada, and cannabis is useful on a spiritual awakening up until the point when it is not useful anymore. And that's, I've had people from the cannabis camp get really up in arms and all upset because I'm saying don't use cannabis. And so I'm going to qualify this again, okay? Cannabis is an excellent medicine. That doesn't mean you need to take a medicine for the rest of your life. You take it until you no longer need it. So if you have anxiety, if you have PTSD, if you have other conditions where pain, chronic pain, and cannabis is providing you with a medicinal healing response, that is fantastic. That's wonderful. Keep at it. That doesn't mean you have to keep at it in a decade or even next year. It just means for right now, it's working for me. So great. If it's working for you, that's fantastic. It worked really well for me as well, because cannabis has special receptors in our brains, and those receptors was helping me to clear out a lot of the addictions and a lot of the health conditions, and it was helping me to heal because it is medicinal. So I think it's a fantastic midpoint tool depending on where you're at in your spiritual awakening. If you're smoking tobacco, move to CBD. If you're engaging in alcohol, switch over to a gummy as a mid-step. You don't need to jump from one addictive source into like total sobriety. You don't need to. That's why we have stepping stones to help you cross over the divide. So if you are using cannabis as a stepping stone, that's fantastic. Now, I had found a couple of strains that were very beneficial, that were balanced between THC and CBD, that really helped me with my PTSD, my anxiety, my cravings, because I was replacing one smoking with another smoking, which was fantastic. Now I have no smokings. I just have my hands and my light language. So finally, see, that was keeping my hands busy from doing what my hands naturally wanted to do. And all of the kriyas and spontaneous movements that come later on in your spiritual awakening. So as I was saying, I'm moving myself along, and I get here and I'm using cannabis, and cannabis is great. I'm using it during my bliss phase. I'm sure a lot of my videos that I did in the beginning of my awakening, that I had used cannabis before I filmed it or used cannabis after I filmed it, I wasn't getting high, and I wasn't like couch locked, and I wasn't like, it would motivate me to get what needed to be get done. And it also started opening me. And I was developing more and more sensitivities as I was using this medicine. And because I had developed such severe PTSD symptoms after my mother had told me, and I cut her off, and after my mother, low power mode, after my mother had told me that I was unlovable and all those horrible things that she said to me, I went into severe PTSD. My PTSD had already started before that, because my best friend of 25 years left my life, and she was like a surrogate mother to me. She was like my everything. So first I lost my best friend, then I lost my mother, and then I lost my husband. So the three most important people in my life, because I was trauma bonded to them, the worst addiction of them all, it caused a lot of PTSD symptoms. So that's when the inner child work really started to begin, and I had to like comfort. I still daily have to do inner child work to reassure my inner child that she's safe. Because I derived a false sense of safety from these people. And when you're on your own, which you will be on a spiritual awakening, you have to do a lot of the internal work. Work is not just about the medicines or the substances or lifestyle changes on the outside. We also have to do the work on the inside. while we're doing these. If you're just smoking cannabis and you're not doing any work, you're not going to see dramatic change. It's a medicine that helps you facilitate an environment so that you can do the inner work. So you can do the inner child work, so you can do the shadow work, so you can do the trauma releases that with less fear and less, it softens it all a little bit for you. So you might want to consider trying cannabis if you haven't and you're struggling. You might want to consider getting off cannabis if you've been using it for a long period of time and you've found yourself hitting a wall, because that's exactly my point. Is it worked until it didn't, and then I needed to go down my path a different way and try a different medicine. This medicine being called grounding and going for walks and other things that didn't involve anything from outside of myself. Okay, so Spirit challenged me to go even further. But in that interim process was me, because of these severe PTSD symptoms that were arising, I sought medicine outside of myself in the form of sacred medicines. What are sacred medicines? They've been medicines that have been used culturally around the globe for time and millennium, and if you are off pharmaceuticals, you cannot do them when you're on pharmaceuticals, so you need to be well clear of pharmaceuticals for at least a good long while, because there could be contraindications, so warning there. So first I did a medicine called Aya, which was like something you snorted up your nose, and it opened me. It opened me, and it was not good. She specifically said, do not make any major life decisions in the next 15 days. 3 days after I had done that medicine, I kicked my ex out of the house and landed myself in the hospital for 3 days. So, warning. When you do a lot of these medicines and you are sensitive and you are on a spiritual journey and you've had a kundalini, it's like fighting a small little fire with gasoline. So it was like pouring gasoline on a situation, and yeah, you'll burn off whatever you're trying to burn off, but you'll also burn your eyebrows in the process. So yeah, that wasn't a great experience, but it was suggested to me to try, and I was still eager to get rid of these symptoms that now were even worse and compounded after 3 days in a hospital stay. So the next I tried Cambo and Bufo. And I did videos in the past on those. And before, I was like, yeah, do this. Yeah, you should. Now my stance is very much warning, be forewarned. Maybe you shouldn't do these things. So buyer beware, do your research. If you are called to sacred medicines, that's your own thing. If you're not called, I'm warning you. I'm giving you a warning from my own experience. That's as simple as it is. The first time that I did Cambo, we finally get to where we're going with this story. The first time I did Cambo, something definitely was dislodged. Some blockage in my system was completely dislodged, and I was on the ground, slamming my hands. They were in so much pain. Slamming my hands, the heat, and I just kept going like this, and I started screaming, wailing in light language. I'd never spoken light language before. I didn't know what I was saying. I knew I was channeling the energy of an ancestor, as what I presumed, or a past life experience that was locked in my energetic system. I was helping to transmute or clear an energy of a French woman from about the 1500s in and around, who had lost her child and was wailing, crying. And I was wailing, I was crying, I was screaming. The healer that was running the show was very good. I will give her that. She was comforting me. She was saying everything was okay. I was safe. She was holding space for me as I was in the throes of this massive eruption. And it scared the bejesus out of me because, as I said when I started this video, it's that type of weird stuff I didn't want to be doing. I didn't want to be channeling. I didn't want to be talking in tongues or light language, and it was overwhelming to me, and I was trying really hard to be like unfazed and, you know, not worry the other people that were at the healing retreat with us. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And they were all like, that was cool, that was amazing. And I was like, okay, was it? Is that normal? What, do other people do that? Like, what's happening to me? And I was trying to mask as best I can. And it went on, because next I tried, and then one weekend there was treatments back to back kind of thing. So next up was a bufo treatment, which is the medicine of the toad. So Kambo is medicine, sacred medicine of the frog. And then we went to toad medicine, and yeah, that experience was even more intense than the last one. Opened me even further up, and I can only say that I died. I died, and then I came back. Clearly my soul was not ready I wasn't allowed to leave my body yet, even though I have wanted to leave my body most of my life and return to whatever home planet I belong to. So I can remember very clearly after taking the medicine, and it hits you almost instantaneously, that I was like, oh good, do I get to leave now? Am I leaving now? And then I was gone, and then I was back, and that was terrifying in its own right. And then I began channeling some more, and more language was flowing out of me, and I was the embodiment of a jaguar. Like, I was a jaguar. So you want to talk about trips, that was it, you know. My background, you know, I was a drinker. I was not a drug user. I did experiment in my 20s with one or two things, and it wasn't really my jam. Like, I always felt paranoid on stuff, so having a lot of psychedelic experiences wasn't really my thing. You know, I had tried magic mushrooms over the years a couple of times, and I was like, oh, this is a fun trip, you know, go into the woods and go skinny dipping or something. But it wasn't my jam. So while I was having PTSD in this Kundalini, it wasn't like my comfort zone of like, oh yeah, these psychedelics are so cool and I'm having an awesome time. It was not so cool. It was not so awesome time. It was scary. It was overwhelming. It was too much. It was too much because I was using medicines that maybe had I used them 20 years earlier, or in a past life or something, when I was in a different energetic frequency, it might have worked great for me. So I think there is a time and a place when you are at a certain energetic level where these medicines are fantastic medicines. But when you are on a Kundalini awakening and your energetic frequency is rising, and you use a medicine that's energetic frequency is down here, and you've already surpassed that, it can be too extreme, it can be too opening, it can be too much. I didn't quite learn the lesson, because I went on to have another treatment with a different healer, and this one was a DMT treatment, and that opened me to very dark energies. So because I was so like padded in my little place of protection in regards to my spirituality, and I was like, oh, there's angels, and angels are nice, and yeah, pretty fairies, I like things like that, those are all safe. I refused to look at any of the darker energies. I just didn't go there. The dark stuff wasn't my jam. I didn't want to. I felt like my life was dark enough. I didn't want to like go looking for dead people, or, you know, souls that haven't moved on. So when I started having those experiences, I was like, okay, hard no to sacred medicines anymore. It took me a very long time to clear dark energy that I was experiencing, negative entities, and a whole bunch of stuff. When you open the doorway, you have to, and you're shining a light because you're radiating at a certain frequency, you have to be prepared, and I was not. I was not prepared. I was completely ill prepared, and I looked around and I was like, where can I find somebody to help me? There is no like Harry Potter school that I can go to. Hogwarts. I needed Hogwarts. I needed the 1-800 number so that I could get in touch with some of the dark arts teachers and find out what the hell I was supposed to do. So I'm just going to pause this. So because there was no 1-800 number to Hogwarts, I had to figure it out for myself, which is in part a shaman's initiation. So a lot of what I've gone through is a shaman's initiation, because you need to cure yourself of your own obscure health conditions. You need to figure yourself out without guidance, your way through dark energies and dark entities and spirits and a whole bunch of stuff. You have to manage your own energy, figure out how to ground it, figure out how to stand in your power, figure out how to shield, figure out all these things, and it's a challenging mission. So on this challenging mission, once that gateway, whatever blockage had occurred in the world of light language, I was not only speaking it, which means to speak in tongues, I was also speaking it in regards to, movements, hand movements and things like that. And learning to do my little TikTok-y videos was a challenge outside of my comfort zone. So keep in mind, spirituality is going to be outside of your comfort zone, and it's going to keep pushing you further and further and further outside of your comfort zone. And that was my starting place. Okay, I'm going to start. I used to be a dancer. I used to spend every single weekend at the nightclubs on a dance floor. So movement, just movement, because that was my meditation for years, is hitting a dance floor, closing my eyes, and just moving energy. And, when I dance, I take up space. Like, if a dude tried to come up and, like, grind me from behind, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get off me. I'm clearing energy here. Like, I'm doing stuff. But, like, it was just dancing. And I was very expressive. And anybody who knows the old version of me, who's ever been to a dance club with me, knows that leave her alone when she's dancing. Her eyes are closed. She's doing her own thing. And I was just in an alternate reality is where I was when I danced. So my light language was like an extension of that, and moving into more very precise, like, hand movements. My hands are very expressive. They just move. Like, I don't control them. There's no, like, next I'm going to do, it's not choreography. There's zero choreography involved in my dance or in my hands. So my entire body is speaking light language. Light language speaking in tongues is a whole new level of outside of my comfort zone, and one that I've been tiptoeing a little bit. I've done some underlays in some of my dance videos where I'm speaking. I've done a very few amount. I've done some healings on clients where I'm like, do you mind if I do some light language, other than my soul kids who hear me speak it constantly, and myself, because I'm constantly speaking to myself. It's not something that I do a lot. So I'm being pushed to get a little bit further outside of my comfort zone and start offering this, because regardless of the fact that my ego thinks it's weird, and that my ego is, like, concerned that other people are going to think it's weird, I have gotten over, for the most part, a lot of my care of what people think of me at this stage through my healing awakening. That was a huge thing. I was terrified of what people used to think of me. I used to hide myself away, and now I'm like, I don't give a fuck. So here I am, taking another step further outside of my comfort zone, talking about stuff that I didn't want to talk about, and going to do some light language. Yes, I am, at the end of this video. So the question posed to me was, when I'm speaking light language, do I know what I'm saying? And the answer to that is yes and no. I'm not Google to translate, and that's not how it works. So when I speak in light language, it's not like okay? So words just flow from me, from soul. And then it's not like my brain goes, oh, I just said I want a cup of coffee. Like, it doesn't work like that. So I get the gist. because these aren't like human languages, although they are very sounding like many languages. So sometimes when I'm speaking light language, it sounds like I'm French, or it sounds like I'm from the Middle East, or it sounds like I am speaking an island tone, or, so it's different, and I'll get a gist. But it's taken me a lot of time, one, to get comfortable with it, and two, to listen to it, to allow it to flow and listen to it so I get the underlying gist. In the height of my darkest days, light language kept coming to me, and it was the same sentence over and over and over and over, and it was circuitalize, and I was like, I don't know what you mean. Okay, so I'm sharing this with you because when these gifts come on, and I don't know how much longer I have before my battery dies, but when these gifts come on, it's not like you know how to use them. It's not like there's a manual handed to you. It's not like you can figure it out. So eventually I figured out that what they were saying to me is like, warning, listen for the lies. Listen for the lies. So then I was like, oh, okay, that's what this means. So yes, not a Google Translate. Google Translate would have helped me a whole bunch if I had it. And it's just about getting the gist of it, because not all words will be translatable, because it's soul language. So not all words are going to be translatable into English and into like a language even that I understand. And whether I understand it or not is irrelevant. It's not about knowledge or understanding, because those are human constructs within the mind. It's about soul to soul communication. My soul speaks, your soul hears. Your ego mind goes, wow, that sounds funny. What does it mean? See? So there is a flow of transference of light codes, light activations that happens through the light language, through whether I'm speaking it physically, so your eyes we're communicating via your eyes, or we're communicating via your ears. So energetically, there is communication that is even less obvious, that's happening between people just when we look at each other, so eye gazing is another form of language. So before I run out of battery today and have to run home quickly because our Zoom meeting will be starting shortly, I wanted to do a little bit of light language, okay. Ecco e tere sikatere la katoro shikitere la tuis. Sikotere la katere kitere shikotere antai tuis shu 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 shu. E kasi la katoro intere osh ai ketero lo intere. Te ko te toi la shikotere ke e la ko shikete la intoro ki kitere ka shikoiski. I cui ste koi fakki turgi da kare la tu shikatere la katere sikitere lo koi da kalam pa. Si alla coi trago e oi la ca oi la che tra che scush la ca che trasti che la che tra che ti sta che lo trasti ti ai la co e la co e tra co che la e coi che ca itala e coi la ca e shoyi che trasa di quella la caterca la le troile la cateria coile la cateria coile la che inta si coish etake ticket la tu shoyi la caterca ita shoyi la cateria su cota che hi coile la cateca si etero ita la coi che to i to coi raka ticket rosa che te la ca i troile la scoteria la coi traca o sia kai toro lo ko tres ke tergala Okay, so that was uncomfortable because there's people that walked by with their dogs right when I was doing that. But as I said, we're stepping outside of our comfort zone, and I'm going to own and embrace my weird. That was a little bit of a clearing energy that was coming through as we were moving through the energetic system. And I'm look forward to get some feedback, some comments, if you felt anything while you were listening or observing that. I have had many reports at this stage of the activations that occur after I do a light language and after I do some clearing work on people. And so it may trigger some responses, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual responses, because I am giving you codes that will activate in you your own healing. A healer creates an environment for the others to heal, and we provide what is needed to do that. So with that all said, I'm sending you my absolute love, and if you would like to book with me, please feel free to reach out and book a one-on-one with me. We can discuss some of your own spiritual gifts that you are trying to open, some challenges that you might be facing, some of the fears around that, and find solutions and tools and strategies to help facilitate you opening yourself up to your highest and greatest, so you can be your own guru, your own guide, and manifest the life that you truly wanted to and deserve for yourself. So with all that all said, peace in.